Most men think a hug is just a hug. You wrap your arms around her, you squeeze. Maybe you pat her back a couple times. You let go. Done. And if I'm being honest with you, that's exactly what most men over 50 are doing. They're hugging women the same way they hug their buddies after a round of golf, the same way they hug their cousin at a wedding, the same way they'd hug anyone. No intention, no presence, no awareness. And then they wonder why there's no spark, why she doesn't lean in, why she pulls away quickly, why that moment that could have been electric just felt polite. Here's what nobody's telling you. A hug isn't just physical contact. It's not about your arms or your hands or how tight you squeeze. A hug is a conversation. It's a signal. It's one of the most primal, instinctive ways human beings communicate attraction, safety, desire, and dominance, all without saying a single word. And when you don't understand the language you're speaking, you're sending the wrong message entirely. You're telling her you're uncertain, that you're uncomfortable, that you don't know how to lead, that you're not fully present, and worst of all, that you see her the same way you see everyone else. But here's the truth no one tells you. When you understand what a hug actually communicates on a biological, emotional, and psychological level, you can use it to create a level of attraction and connection that most men never even come close to. You can make her feel seen, wanted, protected, and desired in a matter of seconds. You can turn a simple embrace into a moment she replays in her mind for days. And it has nothing to do with luck, looks, or age. It has everything to do with understanding what's really happening beneath the surface when two people touch. My name is Sarah Whitman, and I've spent the last decade working with men in the second half of life. Men who are rebuilding their confidence, reclaiming their presence, and relearning how to connect with women in a way that feels natural, powerful, and deeply masculine. One of the most overlooked, underestimated tools in a man's arsenal is physical touch, specifically the hug. Because here's what I see every single day in my practice. Men who are successful, intelligent, good-looking, well-dressed, and articulate completely fumbling one of the simplest, most powerful opportunities to create chemistry with a woman. They hug her like they're afraid, like they're apologizing, like they're trying not to offend her. And in doing so, they kill the attraction before it ever has a chance to build. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things you are absolutely required to do when hugging a woman if you want her to feel that pull, that magnetism, that quiet, undeniable desire that makes her want to be close to you again. Not someday, not eventually, immediately. And I'm going to explain exactly why each of these things works, what's happening in her brain and body when you do them, and how you can start using them the very next time you're in that moment. Let's begin. The hidden root cause, why most men hug like strangers. Before we get into what you should be doing, we need to talk about what's actually broken. Because the problem isn't that you don't know how to hug. The problem is that you've been conditioned, over decades, to suppress the very instincts that make physical touch between a man and a woman feel exciting. Think about it. When you were younger, 20, 25, maybe 30, you didn't overthink a hug. You didn't worry about where your hands went. You didn't second guess how long to hold on. You just felt it. You moved with instinct. You let your body communicate what your words couldn't. But then something happened. You got older. You became more aware. You started hearing messages, sometimes subtle, sometimes loud, that told you to be careful, to not make her uncomfortable, to not assume anything, to keep your distance unless you were absolutely sure. And those messages, while well-intentioned, did something dangerous. They severed the connection between your body and your intent. They made you afraid to lead with touch. They made you second-guess your instincts. They turned one of the most natural, powerful forms of human connection into something awkward, mechanical, and safe. And here's the thing about safe. Safe doesn't create attraction. Safe doesn't make her heart beat faster. Safe doesn't make her feel desired. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore her comfort or bulldoze past her boundaries. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is this. There's a massive difference between being respectful and being invisible. And when you hug a woman like you're trying not to be noticed, that's exactly what happens. You become invisible. But there's a deeper biological reason this matters, and it has to do with something called oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's released during physical touch, especially warm, sustained, skin-to-skin contact. It's what makes a mother bond with her newborn. It's what deepens intimacy between romantic partners. It's what makes human beings feel safe, connected, and emotionally attached to one another. And here's the critical part. The quality of the touch determines how much oxytocin is released. A quick, stiff, impersonal hug? Barely any. A confident, warm, intentional embrace? Floods her system. And when her oxytocin levels rise, something fascinating happens. Her nervous system calms. Her guard drops. She feels more open, more trusting, more drawn to you. She starts associating you with that feeling of safety and warmth. In other words, she starts wanting to be near you. But if your hug is rushed, awkward, or emotionally flat, none of that happens. You miss the window, you lose the moment, and she walks away feeling nothing. So the root cause of why most men fail at this isn't a lack of technique. It's a lack of presence. It's a disconnection from their own body, their own instincts, and their own masculine energy. And that's exactly what we're going to fix. Why the common advice fails. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Marcus, I get it. I need to hug her better. So what do? Hug her tighter? Hold on longer? Use both arms? And that's exactly the trap most men fall into. They think the solution is mechanical. They think it's about doing something different with their hands or their arms or their body. But that's like trying to fix a car that won't start by polishing the exterior. It doesn't matter how shiny the paint is if the engine's not running. The common advice you'll find online, make eye contact, smile, use a firm grip, isn't wrong. It's just incomplete. It's surface level. It treats the hug like a checklist instead of what it really is, a moment of energetic exchange. Because here's the truth. A woman doesn't just feel your arms around her. She feels your energy. She feels your confidence. She feels whether you're present or distracted. She feels whether you're leading or following. She feels whether you want to be there or whether you're just going through the motions. And she makes a judgment about you in that instant, often subconsciously, that affects how she sees you from that point forward. Is he confident or tentative? Is he comfortable in his body or awkward? Does he know what he wants or is he unsure? Does he see me as a woman or just another person? Those questions get answered in the first 2 seconds of the hug. And if you're only focused on where your hands go, you're missing the real game entirely. So let's reframe this. A hug isn't a technique. It's a transmission. It's you communicating through your posture, your presence, your breath, your intention, who you are, and how you see her. And when you get that right, everything else falls into place naturally. The 5 non-negotiable elements of a magnetic hug. All right, let's get into the 5 things you absolutely must do when hugging a woman if you want her to feel that spark, that pull, that undeniable attraction that makes her want more. And I'm going to explain each one step by step so you understand not just what to do, but why it works and how it affects her on a biological and emotional level. Element 1. Commit to the approach. The first thing you need to understand is this. The hug begins before you ever touch her. It starts the moment you decide to go for it. Most men hesitate. They see the opportunity maybe at the end of a date, maybe when greeting her, maybe in a moment of closeness, and they pause. They second guess. They wait for her to give them a sign. And that hesitation, she feels it. It makes her uncertain. It makes her wonder if you're confident. It makes her question whether you actually want to touch her or whether you're just doing it out of obligation. So the very first thing you must do is commit. When you move toward her, move with purpose. Not rushed, not aggressive, but clear, intentional. Like you know exactly what you're doing and you're not asking for permission. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying you ignore her body language. If she's pulling back, if she's giving you signals that she's not comfortable, you respect that immediately. Always. But if she's open, if she's facing you, if she's engaged, if there's warmth in her eyes, you lead, you initiate, you move toward her with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his presence is welcome. And here's why this matters biologically. Women are wired to respond to certainty. Not arrogance, not dominance, certainty. When you move with confidence, it signals to her subconscious that you're a man who knows what he wants, who's comfortable in his own skin, who doesn't need validation before taking action. And that's incredibly attractive. It activates something deep in her brain, a primal response that says, this man is secure, this man is grounded, this man can lead. And it all starts with how you approach the hug. So don't hesitate, don't wait, don't look for approval. Just move.